I am Tim and thanks for watching this video. A few months back I did a video on how to set up Plex in a Docker container on a UGREEN NAS. Well, in this video we're going to go a different route and we're going to set up in a Docker container on a UGREEN NAS Jellyfin media server. Now if you're not familiar with Jellyfin media server, it just is out of the box a media server for providing and streaming local media which you have stored on your home devices. So it will not connect to the internet and download media which is available, for example, like Plex does. So it's just for local media use. So if you want that and you want to know how to set it up in a Docker container on a UGREEN NAS, then keep watching this video and I'll show you how. So let's get to it. So here we are at the computer screen, and just before we get started with installing it, I wanted to let you know that Jellyfin have a great website and it is jellyfin.org, which I'm showing you on the screen now. And at the top you'll see we get the blog option, downloads, contribute, documentation, contact and forum. Now I've found if you go to downloads you'll find that there's Jellyfin Media Player, Jellyfin for iOS, Android, Roku and various other devices as well. So these are the client Jellyfin apps. So what you need to do is install the Jellyfin, so the client app on, for example, your TV, your smart TV, so on. Now also there's the documentation option and you'll see at the left hand side there's all the categories there. Now this is one of the best documentations that I've seen on the internet. The way it's written is fantastic. It's so easy to follow. So if you do want to look further in depth into the Jellyfin media server, then I would certainly recommend reading the documentation and going to the various categories. So with that out of the way, let's get started and install Jellyfin media server on our UGREEN NAS. Now I'm using a DXP 4800 Plus, so you should be able to use any of the DXP series NASes. And also just to make you aware that the media that I want to add into Jellyfin is also stored on the same UGREEN NAS, which makes it easier and also more reliable for streaming purposes as well. So I'd recommend that you also install the Jellyfin media server on the same NAS that you have your media on. And what we first need to do is log into our NAS. So just go to your web portal with the login screen for your NAS like you see on screen now. Then log into your NAS as you normally would as an administrator, by the way, and it will take you to the desktop as you'll see here with the icons. So what we first need to do is, if you haven't already done so, you need to install the Docker application. Now if you've already got Docker installed, then you can skip this step by selecting the chapter markers in this video. So to install Docker we need to go to App Center. So let's open up App Center, scroll down and you'll see we get Docker. So select it and then click install. Then it will ask you choose the location where you want Docker to be installed. So if you've got more than one hard drive in your NAS, it should give you the selection where you want Docker to be installed to. Now if this doesn't pop up, it just means that you've already ticked the always install apps on this volume box. So if you've ticked that box previously, then this window will not pop up. Just click install on that pop-up window and then it will install Docker. As you'll see, we get the installing button there, which is slightly grayed out, so it's saying installing. So we just wait for it to install, which takes a couple of minutes. And then once Docker is installed, you'll see that you get the Docker icon on the desktop and it will also say open in the pop-up window here. So once it's showing that, you can then close the window on screen. And then what we'll do is click on the Docker icon and you'll get the disclaimer message. So just tick it to I have read and accept and then click confirm. This will then take you into the Docker dashboard. And what we need to do is go to image in the menu option, wait for the image database to load, which takes just a few seconds. And then what we're going to do in the search box at the top, we're going to type in Jellyfin and you'll see it brings up some search results, so various search results with Jellyfin. And the one we're going to install is Jellyfin/Jellyfin. So at the moment it's got 1538 stars against it. So what we need to do to download Jellyfin is click the down arrow button, which we'll click to download. Then you'll see the image name is Jellyfin/Jellyfin. So make sure that you do pick that one and not some of the others. Then in the version number box, you'll see we've got latest by default. Now, if you click in there, what you need to do is select the one, so the latest one, and at the moment, at the time of recording this video, is 2026-0601, and the version number is 2026-060106. So that's the one we're going to select. So just make sure that you select the right one. So don't select the unstable option. So the one you need is very near to the top, just under unstable. So once you've selected the version number, just click on confirm, and then it will say the current image version is being downloaded. And you'll see next to local, we get a little animated download arrow there. So just wait for it to finish, and it will say image download success. And then the download icon next to local will disappear, as you can see it has done here. So then once the download arrow is finished and it's saying it's downloaded it, what we're going to do is click on the container option, and then we're going to select the new container button. Then in the please select, so the select image window, under please select, we're going to select Jellyfin. So it should be Jellyfin/Jellyfin, and then the version number. So click confirm. This will take you into the create container screen. Now in the container name, you'll see we get Jellyfin_Jellyfin-1. So what we can do is just change that. So what we'll do is call it Jellyfin1. So it's all in lowercase characters. And then in the CPU limit, we're going to click in that box and we're going to set it to 4 cores. Now I would recommend having 4 cores as it's streaming media. It just gives it a bit of a boost on the CPU. Then in the memory limit box, you'll see it's unlimited. So what we'll do is select custom, and then what we'll do is give it 4096, which is 4 gigabytes of RAM. So that should be enough to run Jellyfin. Then with the auto restart option, if you want to enable that, you can do. So what it will do is if your NAS gets powered down, and then once your NAS has been powered back up again, it will automatically start the Docker container running Jellyfin. So if you want to have that option enabled, you can select that and turn the slider blue like so. So I'll just leave it disabled for the time being for this demonstration video. And then what we're going to do is for GPU performance, we're going to tick that box to enable it. And then you'll see under environment variables, we're just going to scroll down. So you can leave all of those as they are. And then in the volume section, what we're going to do now is link our folders that have our media into this Jellyfin media server. So to do this, under the volume section, under NAS directory file, we're going to select the add button. And then you'll see we get a line added with no text in it. So we get automatic distribution, please enter and select. So in the automatic distribution box, what we're going to do is click in there. We're going to select the folder on the same NAS that our media is located. So mine is all in the streaming media folder. So we'll select that. And then in the streaming media folder, you'll see that I've got some subfolders. One for movies, one for music, one for pictures, and one for TV series. So what we're going to do is select movies as the first one. So we'll go down each one each time and add these folders in. So we'll select movies as the first one. So highlight it so it's blue, click confirm, and then in the container directory stroke file field here where it says please enter, we're going to type in /movies. So that's all in lowercase. And then for the container permissions, we're going to select read only. Then we're going to add again. So click the add, and then in automatic distribution, we'll go into our streaming media, select the next folder down, which is music, click confirm, and then in the container directory file, we're going to select and type in /music, and then in the container permissions, select read only, and then again select add, click in the automatic distribution box, again select your folder where your media is stored, and then we're going to select pictures this time, click confirm, and then in the container directory / file box, we're going to type in /pictures, and then the container permissions set to read only. Then we're going to do it one last time, so we'll click add, in automatic distribution, click in that box, select the folder, and then the next one is for series. So we've done movies, music, pictures, and then this last one is TV series. So highlight it, turn it blue, click confirm, and then in the container directory / file box, we're going to type in /series, and then the container permissions set to read only. So just to confirm, in there you should have had 4 lines added, one with the shared folder, streaming movies, streaming media, movies, shared folder, streaming media, music, same for pictures, same for series. So in the container directory file, you should have /movies, /music, /pictures, and then /TV series. Now, if you have any other types of media, then you can also add another line, link it to the shared folder, and then you could, for example, type in /favorites under the container directory file. So once you've done that, then scroll down and you'll see we get the network configuration. So for the network mode, we're going to change this to host. So select host, and then all the other fields under that network option will disappear. So all you should have under network mode is selected host. Then once you've done that, all we need to do is click on confirm, and then it will say, do you want to create the container? And it will also say run container after creation. So leave the run container after creation ticked if you want to run the Docker container straight away, and just click confirm. Then you'll see it takes you back to the container screen. So this is the summary screen, and you'll see we get Jellyfin 1, and it should have the status of running. So to open up Jellyfin and go to the initial configuration, you need to open up a new tab in your browser, type in http:// and then either the name of your NAS or the IP address of your NAS. So for example, mine is called NAS2. However, if it doesn't work, then just type in the IP address of your NAS, the same one that you used to connect to the control panel with here, where we've just set up the Docker. So once you've typed in the name of your NAS, you need to type in a colon at the end, and then type in the port number that the Jellyfin media server is running on, which is 8096. So in the address bar, you should have http:// the name of your NAS or the IP address, and then a colon, and then 8096. So once you have that in the address bar, click enter, and then you'll get the welcome to Jellyfin. So this wizard will guide you through the setup process. To begin, please enter a server name and select your preferred language. So the server name is the name of your NAS, which is already populated, as you'll see is NAS2. And the display language is English. So just select the language. And if you want to change the server name, now I wouldn't recommend it. I'd just leave it as the same name as your NAS. And then once you've selected the language, click next. Then it will say, tell us about yourself. So what we're going to do is the username is set to root. So leave that as root, I would recommend. So this is the administrator account that we're setting up, which can be used to create other users and change settings in the Jellyfin server. So I'd recommend leaving it as root, but just give it a strong password. So in this case, we'll just give it a simple password as it's a demonstration. And then once you've created the password and confirmed the password, click next. Then it will take you into set up your media libraries. So all we need to do is add our media library. So to click plus, then with the add media library pop-up window, you'll see we get content type. So click in that box, and then what we're going to do is select the first one. So we'll go down the list and we'll do movies, music, shows, and then home videos and photos. So you can also do books as well, music videos, and mixed film and programs as well. So we'll select movies, and the display name, you can change that if you want. So you can put top movies, old movies, and so on. So you could categorize them to how you want. So you can add as many libraries and sections as you want to do so. So what we need to do now we've done the display name and the content type is we need to add the folder in. So to do this, under the folders line here, you'll see we get a plus. So click on the plus, and then what we're going to do is scroll down the list and select movies, and then click OK. So that has now linked our movies folder on our NAS into the Jellyfin media server. Now there's various other settings here, so library settings, so it will say enable the library. Now I'm not going to go through all these details, so I would just recommend leaving them all as default, and you can go through the user guide on the jellyfin.org website, and then you can find out what each option does. So what it will do is at the moment it's set to retrieve the information from the movie database and the open movie database, and it will also fetch images as well for films and so on. So we'll click OK, and you'll see we now have the movies folder added. So we'll go and click plus again, select the content as music. Again on folders, click the plus, and then select the music folder, click OK, and click OK again. We'll do the same for the other folders. So content type is shows, under folders, add select series, click OK and OK again. And then with the final one, we'll click plus, content type we'll set to home videos and photos. And then in this display name, what we'll do is just set that to photos as there's no home videos. And then for the folder, we'll select pictures and click OK and OK again. And then once we've added all the folders with the media, we'll click next, and then it will say preferred metadata language is English, and then the country or region. So just select the country or region that you're in. So in this case it's UK, and click next. Then for the next option, you'll see we get configure remote access. Now, in order to configure remote access, you will need to open ports on your router or router. So if you're outside of your home and not using your home network, you will need to either connect via a VPN or open ports on your router or router, which I would not recommend doing. I would recommend using a VPN such as WireGuard, for example. So I would say untick this for the time being so that you can just use it on your local network at home and stream it to your TVs, smartphones, tablets and so on. So click next, and then it will say you're done. So just click finish, and then it will take you to the sign in prompt. So in this case, we'll type in root and the password that we created and click sign in. And now you'll see that it's taken us into the Jellyfin media server homepage where we've got the recently added movies, recently added photos, and you'll see that it's downloaded the images from the internet, so it's retrieved those for the relevant media. So we can select the folder, for example movies, and we get the Memphis Belle. So if you want to go back to the list, all you do is click NAS2 with Jellyfin icon in the top left corner. You can select music. Now you'll see here they're saying there's nothing here, no items are currently available. Now there is, because I put a demonstration music file in there, so as it's not in an actual album, what you'll see here is we get the filter option. So it's set to albums by default, so we'll click on it, and what we can do is select, for example, songs, and then it will appear as it's not in an actual album, it's just a simple song on its own. You'll need to select the filter option here. So we'll go back, then we can select, for example, shows, add again, you'll see nothing here. As it's not in an actual series, it's just a single show. What we need to do is just select the filter option and change it from shows to episodes. And you'll see we get the individual episodes pop up there. So if you want to play an episode, all you need to do is just hover over it and click the play icon. And then it will open it up on the screen, and then it will start playing the video. So you get the usual video controls, as you'll see, which hover over at the bottom. You'll get the rewind, fast forward, pause option, and the volume settings, and also the gear icon where you can change the aspect ratio, playback speed, quality, and playback info as well. So to exit, all you do is click the X in the top left corner and then click the arrow back, and it will take you back to the list of TV episodes. So to go back to the categories, again in the top left corner, click the Jellyfin icon with the name of your NAS, and it will take you back to the home page. Now to get into the settings, all you need to do in the top right corner is click the user menu and select settings, and then it will give you the display and playback settings, for example, for each of the individual users. So it will say the username there, so you can change the display and so on for each individual user. But if you want to get to the overview dashboard, where you can change many other settings for the actual server itself, you click again the user icon and select dashboard. This will take you into the full Jellyfin dashboard, where it gives you the statistics about the server, storage space and so on. And at the left hand side you can change the general settings, branding, users. So if you want to create more users for each person in your home, for example, all you would do is click plus, give the user a name, password, and then grant them access to the library. So let's do this and call this test, enable access to all libraries, click save, and then it will take you into the next screen where you could set up the permissions and so on. So if you don't want them to be an administrator, so not allow them to manage this server, so for example, or the user can manage collections, or user can edit subtitles, then you would tick the relevant options. So it's quite a comprehensive server, a lot of options in there and various configuration options as well. So you can change the access settings by clicking access, parental controls. So if you don't want your children, for example, to access various folders, then you can block them from accessing various folders and categories. So then we go to libraries. So if you want to add more libraries in the future, you would select libraries and then click the add media library and then add the relevant folder or category that you want to add later on. So you get display options, devices. So here is where your connected devices such as your smart TVs, tablets, mobile phones would all show up when they're being connected into the Jellyfin media server. So then we get activity, live DVR. Now, if you want live TV to be added into Jellyfin, then you can do that, but you would need a TV tuner, such as, for example, HD Home Run, M3U tuner or other. So you'd need a HD Home Run, for example, to be able to access and play back live TV through the Jellyfin media server. And also the DVR, so you can set up a DVR in Jellyfin as well. But for all these options, I would recommend just reading the documentation on the jellyfin.org website. As I've said, it is really well written and easy to follow. Then you get plugins, so you can, for example, add in the audio database. Then there's the networking options, API keys, backups. So you can create a backup and restore it from your snapshots that you create. There's also the logs option and scheduled tasks. So as you can see, it's quite a comprehensive and easy to navigate and easy to set up Jellyfin media server on a UGREEN NAS. Now, one other thing I want to show you is if we just log out. So we click sign out in the top right corner, and then it will take you back to the sign in screen. Now there's an option here for use quick connect. Now what this will do, for example, if you've got a smart TV and it's awkward to log in with, say, a username and password, what you can do is use Quick Connect. So what it will do is generate a number, which you then put in on your smart TV, for example. Once you open the Jellyfin client app, it will ask you about logging in. So you can just use the Quick Connect option here. So use Quick Connect, click on it, and it will generate a code for you to use. So you can see the Quick Connect code. So what you do is type in that Quick Connect code onto your TV client app for Jellyfin, and then it will easily log you into the Jellyfin server. So that will do it for this video. Hope you found this video useful, and keep a lookout. There's more videos coming again soon. Take care and bye for now.